Hello and welcome to Cloud Insider's Tech Focus, where we talk about tools, tips and tricks to make your life in the cloud easier. I'm joined today by Jonathan Med, co-creator of the vRA Power Module. Hi John.
Hi Stu, how are you doing?
Yeah, not bad. My name is Stuart Robinson, I'll be hosting today's episode, and without further ado, John, what is Power vRA Module and what does it do?
So Power vRA Module is a PowerShell toolkit for working with a VMware product, vRealize Automation. If you have used Power CLI for vSphere, it's a very similar tool. It essentially lets you manage and do things with the system with PowerShell. So if people are comfortable with PowerShell itself, they can pick up our toolkit and work with vRA in a very familiar kind of command line or scripting manner.
Yeah, brilliant. So who did you make it for and why did you guys build it?
So I made it with a colleague and someone I was working on some vRA projects at the time, Craig Gumbley, and we'd both been thinking for a little while independently that we really wanted a PowerShell toolkit to do stuff in vRA because we're often setting up environments or needing to create stuff in them, particularly as consultants. Like you've got to stand up new environments or test environments, and a lot of that is automation friendly. And there wasn't a toolkit from VMware, and as far as we knew, they had no plans to make one. Yeah. So we thought, we just got chatting one day and realised that we both had the same idea, so let's make it a project, co-developed project. Right, so that was pretty good because you don't have to make it all on yourself. It would have not only taken twice as long, but it's also great to get that kind of initial feedback from and bounce ideas off a friendly face before you put these things out into the wild, and you might get, not so friendly responses to things out on the internet. So yeah, that's why we started to put it together for our own use, really. And then as it developed, we thought other people might find it useful. People we talked to and showed projects we were working on were quite keen on it, so we published it and have developed it out in the open world since then.
Yeah. I think I saw you tweeted about it the other day. Was it something like 3,000 downloads just clicked over?
Yeah, so it's available on GitHub and in the PowerShell gallery, which is somewhere where people tend to go to get modules for working with PowerShell things. And we went over 3,000 downloads recently. That's on the PowerShell gallery. We don't quite have the figures, not quite so easy to get on GitHub. Yeah. So it's quite popular. We think it's been going for a couple of years now, so quite mature and that kind of thing.
So I see from your GitHub that you've actually been getting quite a lot of feedback and you've been responding to people and everything seems to be going quite well in that respect?
Yeah, it's really positive. Uptake is good and people are creating issues that they're finding when they're using it, and or making feature requests, or actually even submitting their own code that we have included in the project. We know we're being particularly successful in some ways in terms of the quality, because some of the issues raised and the time that we actually get to respond to them, people have thought that it was an official VMware product, and why am I not getting a response within 4 hours, one day or something, and then we highlight to them that actually it's mostly from myself and Craig, with a few other community contributions, and then they're a bit more understanding that we haven't got back to them quite as quickly as if you're paying for some expensive support contract on a product. It is an open source tool, yeah. And we get to it, things as quickly as we can, but perhaps we haven't got 20 a development team and a bunch of people on the support desk to help us.
Yeah. But being mistaken for VMware, worst problems to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it kind of highlights the level of quality that Craig and I kind of keep each other to, is that we want it to be as good because we made it for ourselves initially, so we wouldn't accept something that isn't of a high quality for our own use. so we wouldn't give that to other people.
Yeah. And of course, you do actually put the disclaimer that you're not a VMware house, like on the second line of your intro. So.
Yeah, I mean, we do try and highlight that as much as possible, but people don't necessarily always read everything. If you download the tool and just start using it, you probably might not go and read all the documents first.
Yeah. So you mentioned, was it Power vRA earlier? You said
Power CLI is
CLI.
is the VMware official product for managing vSphere and other things, but they don't have anything for vRA. So
have you got any competitors out there, or are you just kind of standing alone in this field?
So they do have, they do ship a command line tool called Cloud Client, and that's partly one of the reasons why I made my own tool, because I didn't really like it. And it has slightly different names. You can't quite compare them, but you can do similar things with them. But we wanted something that was native PowerShell, because that was one of the favorite tools of choice we have for working in those. And Cloud Client is its own individual tool, so don't quite get that familiarity or things that you get with PowerShell itself.
Yeah. Very nice. And so, does it work with all versions of vRA?
Yeah, so we aimed it initially at vRA 7, which has been out a couple of years now, I think, and we've tested it, or we do test it with all versions of vRA up to 7.3. 7.4 recently came out, so we'll get around to testing that at some point. Or if anyone listening wants to help us test it, they're welcome to do that. All the tests are published in GitHub. It just needs someone to have their time to run them through and raise any issues. We do also support, to a certain extent, version 6, the previous version of vRA, but that had much more limited functionality that you could work with from an API point of view. I think we have about roughly 50% of the commands and features that are in our toolkit work with 6, but most people, I think, in their own environments have typically moved on to 7 now. I think 6 is out of support. So
cool. So what do you need to get up and running?
Okay, so you need PowerShell. Oh, let's be clear, there's 2 different versions of PowerShell these days. So there's the Windows only version, which is PowerShell 5.1, and then as of earlier this year they've released PowerShell 6, which is a cross-platform version which works on Windows, Linux and Mac. So we recently did some work to make it available in both of those. So if you've got a MacBook, you can use our tools natively. We're one of the first community PowerShell modules that's in the gallery that supports PowerShell core, so that was
really
quite nice to do that. And to be fair, the PowerShell team have made it, depending on what your toolkit does, have made it very easy to support the new version on different operating systems. So we really, I think we only had to make very few actual changes to the toolkit to make it work in PowerShell core. The main thing from a time point of view is the testing. So we've got about 120 functions in the toolkit, so we had to test each and every one of those, and we have got some automation around the testing, but it still takes time to work through that.
So John, you mentioned, I think, there's PowerShell Gallery and GitHub. Are those the main places to get it? Have you got a quick and easy address, or is I'll just put it in the links?
Yeah, if you go onto GitHub, go for Power vRA, you'll find that pretty quick.
Cool, perfect. So have you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, just anyone who wants to get involved and works with vRA, we're more than welcome people raising issues and stuff, and we cover pretty much as much of the API as you can. So things that you can do pretty much anything with our toolkit, like setting up new tenants, working with importing, exporting blueprints, requesting catalogue items, they're key things. But if there's functionality we don't cover, we'd if we only have a limited time to work on stuff. So if people want to suggest things, those are the things we tend to go for. But yeah, get involved, raise issues, contact us.
Get out there, get using it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So if people want to keep up to date with the rolling news and everything about the product, you've got a Twitter account, I believe?
Yeah, we do. Got the Twitter account, the Power vRA module. We post things there, or if you get a sign up to the project in GitHub, you can get notifications when there's new releases. That's where we pretty much track everything.
So John, if people wanted to reach out and talk to you directly, how can they get hold of you?
Yeah, best way is probably on Twitter. It's the easy way to find me. So that's at Jonathan Med, which I'll spell both names, which is JONATHAN, and Med, MEDD, all one word. That's my account.
Brilliant. Well, John, thank you very much for coming on and telling us about it. Can't wait to see what you do with it.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks for inviting me on.
All right.